Hi, my name is Kevin Augustin, and these are my course reflections, the takeaways I've taken from this current course. I'll begin by explaining what I've taken away in terms of how diversity serves in the field of addiction counseling. I'm currently serving my internships for the LADC licensure, and I'm serving at Nystrom and Associates in Otsego, the clinic in Otsego. Nystrom and Associates, unless anyone didn't know, is basically a Christian-based company. The owners are born-again Christians, and so they like to implement um, scriptural truths into all their counseling practices. They're a full mental health facility. They have their own psychiatrists. They have their own pharmacy. They have their own marriage family therapists, and they have those of us that are in the SUD, substance use disorders department. Um, that serve as drug and alcohol counselors. The it's a lot easier in the other mental health areas to implement scriptural truths. With substance abuse, it's a little harder because a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but some people just refuse to accept anything to do with Christianity or Jesus. Came into that last week. We were counseling a man, me and my mentor, who admitted that he was an atheist, didn't want anything to do with any religion or anything to do with Christianity. So, of course, we have to respect his wishes. But our mission is still to try to get people off the substances, people that are addicted to substances. It's our mission to get them better, to treat them, to get them sober and to stay sober. We have a total abstinence program, and so that is our mission. Regardless of, I don't care what background you have, we will serve you there. And so, yeah, we are truly diverse in that respect, and it just has to be that way. Um, like I say, the mission, and I believe Jesus would be this way too. He would want to work with the people to get them clean and sober first, and then we'll leave it up to the Holy Spirit to work on them later, to convict them on how much God really loves them, so maybe they will accept Jesus. So, in the second takeaway, it's in the area of, I think it was the first week we had an assignment on how family influences our worldview. That was pretty interesting. I mean, I have a psychology background. I have a doctorate in psychology, and I pretty much specialized in developmental psychology, so I know the whole process, um, how worldview is developed. And worldview is basically defined as our set of values and beliefs that are specific to us. But we think it's specific to us, but how that transpires is every interaction and experience you have with those around you and your environment as you're growing up creates the values and beliefs that you eventually have, and that would be your worldview. So, family is obviously a big influence on that, your parents especially. They're the ones that, as you were growing up, were instilling, their beliefs and values into you. Um, and so that becomes your base set of values and beliefs, your base worldview. Now, what happens a lot of times, or what happens always, is when you hit the adolescent ages or the young teenagers, that's when you really start to put a lot of reliance on your peer group, and you start to associate with your peer group more so than your family. And peer group becomes very important to you. So you start to see maybe slight differences in worldviews between your worldview and some of your peers. And of course, naturally, then you're going to start to question your worldview, or maybe question theirs, or both. And ultimately, you'll be faced with the dilemma of which set of beliefs and values are the ones that you want to adapt or you want to adopt. Um, Interestingly, research has shown that most of the time, high majority of the time, teenagers end up, after testing and questioning their original worldview or set of values and beliefs that they've acquired from their parents, they tend to end up sticking with those values and beliefs and make that their worldview throughout their lifespan. And the third area I will touch on is it was interesting to me the week's discussion we had on the subtle differences between race and ethnicity and how they're linked. Um, I did an interview with a friend of mine. She's an Asian gal, and she didn't quite understand the differences either. And she has a psychology background as well. She um, she thought that race and ethnicity were interchangeable, that they were the same. And I think a lot of people do believe that. But technically, race would be your physical traits mostly, skin color, um, facial characteristics, or hair type, things like that. Ethnicity would be more your cultural aspects. Um, like I don't know, something specific to your culture, I guess. Um, being I'm Norwegian and German, so that would be my ethnicity because I follow a lot of the German and Norwegian behavioral characteristics. I guess the behavioral characteristics would be more the ethnicity. And so it's just interesting to see the subtle differences, but they are interlocked or interconnected, basically, race and ethnicity. Um, being the white race, a lot of white race folks are European and or Scandinavian, which I am. And so it would stand to reason that our ethnicity would be pretty similar within that race. And so I just thought the course was pretty informative altogether. And I know the professor did a wonderful job in picking the right material for the course, the resources. They were all really, really good resources. And so I just really glad that I took this course, and I thank the professor for teaching it. Thank you.